comics? Oh, you're doing the comics? Yeah.
He's doing the comics.
Right.
If you hear me clap once, if you hear me clap twice,
Very little claps.
if you hear me clap 3 times. Okay, I think I have lost everyone's attention. So for today's talk, we're gonna have 3 different speakers. We're gonna have Marco Esquivel, this is one that I've been waiting for a long time, mainly because we haven't had anyone that talks about comics. And 2, this is our first high school student speaking and giving a nerd talk. We also have Yuri, and he's gonna be talking about robotics. And we're gonna have HJ Music talking about Shakespeare. Okay. And I'm gonna go ahead and start. We're gonna have Marco give us some comics. He does want them back, but he wants you guys to look at it.
I don't know how many people have actually been able to hold a comic or leaf through a comic in their time, so I want everyone to be able to take one. And I made it a wide variety. We got the first 4 Spawn issues, a crossover issue between Batman and Spawn, Godzilla and all my K-Boys, those are my babies. The Invaders In comic series, love them, love them, love them, love them.
Hey guys, does anyone have any teas over here to go? A Hunan hot and then an iced tea? And then here's the ice.
I'm good.
Oh, you're fine.
In the meanwhile, I also want to announce that as summer approaches, I'll be leaving Garden City. So I'm going to be looking for recruiters to be able to host Nerd or to continue Nerd Talk. And I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking, man, life is going to be better with Jorge, without Jorge. And you are probably right. But I'll help you. I'll help the group to actually continue this. Okay, with that being said, right now at this point, Marcus passing out the comics. I asked 3 questions to the speakers. The first one: what source do they use to obtain science news? The second one: what has been your biggest accomplishment? And the third one: name a hobby that you had in your childhood. And our first speaker is going to be Marco. Like I said, he's a high school student, and mainly he looks online for articles and for forums to get his science. He says that he doesn't do it frequently, but at least he does it once in a while. Okay, for his second question, he says that he doesn't see anything as being a big accomplishment yet, and he says that mainly it's because he procrastinates a lot. And he told me a really cool story. He said that I guess it would be how I placed in an oration event with a speech on procrastination that I procrastinated on. And his hobby in his childhood, he was reading. So with that being said, I'm gonna take over Marco's job where I'm gonna be passing out the comics, and if he can come over here and give us his talk. He does want them back.
Couldn't think of anything cooler than that.
What? No, I had an entire reason why I chose reading up there.
Don't go into it.
I had an entire reason. But amazing likeness, right? Took that in my younger days when I just go shirtless whenever.
Stand over a barrel. I am the captain.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here. And first time all together, actually. Never been to a Nerd Talk. Glad I could be here and do a speaking one. And hopefully this one doesn't crash and burn. It's gonna be great. Okay, so I want to clarify on that, and I'm going to. The reason why I chose reading as my hobby is because I used to do it all the time when I was younger. But because of my poor decisions, I got crap for eyes now. It's amazing. These things are so thick. I used to read in dark lit places. And you shouldn't do that because it strains them and makes it horrible. But I'm here really to talk about the feasibility of collecting in modern society of comic books and collectibles in that nature. And overall, it is almost zero. You need need to be careful when you choose to start collecting comic books or little trinkets, collectibles, and that nature, because you're not going to make money on it. A lot of people who choose to do that do so because they believe at some point in time in the future there's going to be a huge payout, and that defeats the purpose of getting the medium, because they're amazing pieces of art and work that just pour out stories that you need to appreciate. And most of the time, the people who end up buying them just hope that eventually they'll be big bucks. Which, as a matter of fact, there has been multiple instances of thereof. Does anybody know what the most expensive comic book is? The single most expensive comic book?
Spider-Man, I'm guessing. Batman.
Superman Volume 1.
No. Oh wait, Superman Volume 1? Actually, absolutely correct. Action Comics Issue 1, published in June of 1938, sold online at eBay for $3,287,514. It broke the record for the single most expensive item sold on there. It was amazing. But that was simply because it had a comic gradient of 9.0. And for people who aren't familiar with comic gradients, that's the condition entirely of said comics. And that means no rabbit ears, no yellow pages, everything is completely normal, and you don't have bent corners.
What's the highest?
The highest projected is supposed to be 10.0, but it is impossible for any comic book to be 10.0. Because even when they come out of the printing, they normally come out as 9.5s to 9.8s. If anybody's selling you a 10.0 gradient, it's a complete lie, and don't waste your money on it, because that is just going to rob you blind. Also, there are multiple rules when purchasing comics or collectibles. You have to understand the availability of them, the issue printing, and basically the demand. In this case, pathos is not your friend. Do not listen to the warm feelings you get inside when you think about your time as a kid with those characters, or the good times you remember, anything associated with it, because that will bite a huge hole in your wallet. It is not a lie. It's happened to me way too many times for me to be comfortable talking about it and not getting too weird about it. Okay, so for instance, Spawn #1 by Todd McFarlane. Does anybody know how many issues of this there are?
That came out in the 90s, probably a couple million at least.
2.1 million. There were 2.1 million copies of Spawn issue #1 sold. It actually won Todd McFarlane the record for most individual issues sold, which once again is amazing, but huge chunk out of the value of these comics. Because the more there are out there, it's not that hard to find them. So the average cost of Spawn #1 is $6. On average, the printed price on the front of the cover. Now there is some saving graces, which I'm kind of happy and surprised nobody grabbed Spawn #1, because this one is a variant cover. 1 out of 25, so every 25 issues that were made, there is a single one of these. This is a $60 individual comic book. This one, $40. Spawn issue 2, the first introduction of the Violator, issue 4, runs for $35 in the lesser grade variant. When you're buying things like collectibles, you have to be aware of the different types there are. Because for every one you're looking for, there could be 5 variations. Each one of them worth a significantly different price tag. It's hard to determine these things without looking them up extensively or just having some background knowledge, but if you do, you could find some way to make a payout. But the problem with that is pathos. Because a huge thing with this industry is that it's completely a collector's basis. A collector's basis when it comes to purchasing anything pertains towards people with excess funds who are willing to buy random items to hoard away. That's it. Comic books, collectibles, and anything of that nature are only worth what they were put out initially to be, which could be maybe $6, $7. And if you sold them back to a store, you might get $3 if you're lucky, because they have to make a profit too. When the Death of Superman arc came out in '93, people went crazy about it because it was a household name. This Kal-El, the son of Krypton, died in his bloody combat with Doomsday, the destroyer of his home world. They made anniversary editions of that comic book that sold upwards to $200 per issue for a limited amount of time. If you have an original printing of the Death of Superman in the Doomsday Arc series, you'd be lucky to get $6, when most people would have spent $50 on release day. Comic books are deeply tied to social medias, hype as it were. The more popular a thing is or becomes, that is when you buy and sell as fast as you possibly can. Because that means it will once again be a hot topic issue. The Avengers weren't honestly that valuable before the movie franchises start coming out again. Now the same issues you could have probably bought online on eBay, if not Amazon, for maybe $20 at the most, are going to cost you an arm and a leg. Simply because media increased its value. It increased perspective and caused a tunnel vision on them. Which is a good thing for the medium. It's honestly great. I'm happy when people start experiencing the comic book world and seeing these different items. But the real problem with that is it causes a stranglehold on the market. And it dilutes everything. So now it's a lot more predictable to see what it is you want to buy and sell, but it takes away from the value of reading the issues themselves. So if you're going to invest in comics, I highly recommend going with the rule of 3. The rule of 3 for any collector is to purchase 3 of any individual item that you take a significant interest into, depending on whether or not it's going to be worth anything to you or in the future. But it's all on a gut instinct, or if there's been anything preceding it to give you that tip off. The rule of 3 is to purchase a copy for yourself that you can play with, look through, enjoy to its fullest. You don't have to worry about leaving a smudge here or there, or even rabbit earring a few pages here and there. Because that's yours. That's your personal copy. Something you're allowed to enjoy to its fullest. The second copy is to trade. Because in most mediums, you have to trade. You have to barter. You have something of value that nobody's going to pay you full price for. You trade it for something else that you want. Maybe your issue 78 of Spider-Man isn't going to be selling immediately, and you don't want to sit on it forever. You've enjoyed it, and you want to get rid of it so you can perhaps buy an issue 37 of Detective Comics. So you find somebody who's willing to make that trade, or find some way to get it through them. And that's the purpose of the second issue. The third issue is to sell, because you want to try and get as much of the full value as possible. So you get that issue, you hoard it, you keep it in a lockbox, you never look at it, you don't even acknowledge it exists anymore until somebody's willing to buy it. Then you get your key, you go to your safety deposit box, you open it up, you have 3 armed guards, and you get out of there as fast as you possibly can. I just really like comics. Now, that's really the ifs, ands, and buts that you have to really know about collecting anything. It's not feasible. Do not look at it as a business. It is a terrible idea, and if you think that is going to help you at all, do not waste time buying 20 issues of the same thing. Just stick with the rule of 3 if you're very sure, and enjoy what you have.
Okay, with that being said, do you guys have any questions for Marco? Any questions? Okay, I do have one. How much have you spent on comic books?
As of right now, buying, selling, trading, because I haven't done it for very long, only about $2,500.
And one more thing, I guess. What's the difference between, or the pleasure that you get from reading a book compared to a comic book?
Well, see, comic books unfortunately rob you of that little value when you're reading a novel, where you can kind of implement yourself into the character. Because honestly, anybody who's read a book has done that to some character at some point in time. You believe you're them. That's you in that story. You're enjoying it. But a graphic novel doesn't let you do that because you don't have that Adonis body.
Okay. Any more questions for? Okay.
Batman or Superman?
Batman or Superman, who would win? Logically, it's got to be Superman. The guy can turn back time with just sheer force of will. He can lift infinity and push infinity. The guy has no boundaries. Yeah. It doesn't matter though. If you're going by any basis, any incarnation of Superman can beat Batman flat outright. The only times Batman has ever won is when Superman's been previously damaged or Batman's had a ridiculous amount of prep time. Even The Dark Knight Returns Part 2 showed that. Superman had just survived getting hit with a nuke, and Batman had at least 6 months of planning, and he had Oliver Queen helping him. That's not fair. Alright? Batman and Green Arrow. It wasn't just Batman, it's never just Batman. He's got all the Robins, he's got Dick Grayson as Nightwing in the incarnation or not. He's there helping him. He's got the whole Bat Clan. It's not fair.
More important question, why would they be fighting?
Why would they be fighting?
That's what I mean.
Okay, it is a territorial thing, because both of them are extremely prideful jerks, and nobody's willing to say that to their faces. Batman doesn't just control Gotham, he controls whatever he wants to control. And Superman's the ultimate Boy Scout. He's got to try and keep order in the world. It's stupid.
Okay. One more questions, anyone? Okay, thank you, Marco.